Coming up tonight, Scarlet takes on the night. We test out some new foods, and we explore the show venues. It's all coming up, so let's set sail. Welcome to day number 4 of the cruise view from onboard the Scarlet Lady. Today was Wednesday, October 13th, 2021, and Scarlet Night was the topic of the day. But first, a few things that I learned throughout the day today and that occurred today. The first, a venue known as IB that has been listed in both the Virgin Voyages app as well as, surprisingly, all around the ship, has been kind of a mystery. Many people have looked for it. Doesn't seem like many have actually been able to find it. And even the mobile app is unable to find the venue because it does not actually exist. I'm not sure if they canceled it at some point in the process or what went on. It doesn't even look like there's an area down there for it to be. According to the deck plans, it's supposed to be on deck number 4, forward, right near the medical center. There is no area for it. It's listed as kind of like a detox thing to do in the morning after a long night of drinking, and it sounds like a kind of bar with a medical theme to it, but there is no bar down there, certainly no area to even fit a bar like that. And when I was looking for it, a crew member stopped to find out what I was doing because it was not an area that looks very designed for the guests. It's a little more of a crew looking area with just the medical center down there and a lot of access to crew only areas. But I questioned them on IB, and what I was told is that it is something you go to deck number 5 to the spa and you can actually sign up and schedule an appointment for it, and then the actual venue is up on deck 15, so I'm assuming that's probably going to be the tune-up area since that is part of the spa up there. But it is not an actual venue down on deck number 4, as both the deck plans and the mobile app, as well as the actual physical signage on board the ship, seem to indicate it is. It is not actually its own venue. Then an update on my tablet issues. They did not replace it today, even though they said they were going to. Continued to not work. Use the chat feature of the mobile app to talk to Sailor Services. Explained to them about it not working. They sent somebody down to look at it, and then they called a second person down. We had to go off to our dinner, but when we returned tonight, we did have a new tablet, and it seemed to be working well again. So we'll see if that continues to stay stable or if it's another issue. But for now, at least, we do finally have a new tablet to try and control the cabin with. And then the biggest story or issue of the day, in my opinion, is the soot issue. I mentioned it last night about the athletic club. A lot of soot all over that furniture today in the sunlight. You can see just how bad it actually was and the extent of it. It is something that has been going on all cruise long. The smoke coming out of the funnel does not seem to drift up in the air. It actually falls down and falls lower than the top decks all the way down to the ocean level at times. And that is causing a lot of soot that appears on, even here I'm on deck number 15 in the back deck of the galley, which is completely under a roof, seems pretty protected, but the furniture right over here on the edge of the table and the tables along the railing over here all have black soot marks on them. Above me in the athletic club has it. The perch is completely covered, and even if you go all the way down to deck number 7 in the dock, that area has soot as well going on. And the oddest one is if you go to the pool deck on deck number 16, some of those white chairs on the 16 level actually have the soot marks as well. So even forward of the funnel, the soot is getting there. Just seems like a whole lot of soot that is falling on all areas of the back of the ship and really making a mess and damaging the furnishings that are out there. And some of the chunks are actually pretty sizable when you see it laying on the ground. It's not just little flakes or specks, they are massive chunks of soot that are settling on the surface of the ship. So I'm not sure if that is something with our weather. I don't think our weather is unusual. I think it's pretty common. It's not like we're in a cold or warm spell right now. So I'm curious if this has been going on the entire time she's been sailing or something that just started, but it certainly seems like something that needs to get fixed. I don't think it's something that can just be ignored or allowed to be as is and accepted, because it certainly seems to be doing a lot of damage on a ship that is otherwise spotless. It really is in incredible condition for being around for 18 months, except for what is damaged by the soot on the back areas of the ship. And the final item I mentioned last night, we did have to set the clocks forward again as we moved back to the East Coast time. And this morning, my phone, my watch, all my cameras were set correctly as I did before I went to bed. But the tablet I don't know because it wasn't working, but the TV at least was not the correct time. And as of, I believe, 5 o'clock I checked again, it was still not the correct time on the television. So at this point I'm not sure if it is corrected yet, but it is certainly a delayed time change on some of the electronic devices around the ship, so you do want to be careful of that. Because if you are relying on that television instead of your own device, you may be using the wrong time, thinking that it has to be correct because it is the one from the ship. And historically, I know for myself, I've always relied on the television, and you can actually see on the Royal Caribbean ones, someone log into the computer and move the mouse and change the time right on the screen when you watch the ship location channel. So I've always relied on that as kind of the certainty of what the true time is, but it does not appear to be the case on this ship that you can rely on that. So you really need to know what the real time is and pay attention to when the time changes are, because that is the only way you're going to know truly what the time is for events. So for our location today, we were sailing back north, headed to the Bimini Beach Club for tomorrow, and for today our noontime location was 22 degrees and 49 minutes north by 84 degrees and 31 minutes west. That put us once again right off the western tip of Cuba. We are basically following the exact same route we took going down, right back north, and are almost in the exact same spot at noon today. At noon, our speed was 18 knots. Tonight, we have picked up a bit of speed. We are up to about 21 knots right now. We can feel the ship rocking a little bit at the moment. And looking around us, doing some ship spotting, it was mainly cargo ships. There was one cruise ship, I think the Independence Seas, we might have passed at some point, but I didn't see it, so it might have been too far away to notice. But from the radars, it seemed like it might have been close enough to spot at one point. For our weather, this is another one of those days where I wish they would tell us what the forecast was, because it was a variable day. It was beautiful, warm, sunny in the morning, got partly cloudy, and in the evening got very windy. The winds picked up all afternoon, and it was very windy in the evening, followed by a passing shower at 5 p.m. Our high today was 82 with a low of 79, and that made for enjoyable conditions with those calm winds. But once that storm came in, you could see it off on the horizon that there was rain around us, and it just came and hit about 5 p.m. really kind of disrupted the day at that point. So for a lineup today, we did have a paper copy available. It was once again, just like the last sea day, only available until 4 p.m. Any event 4 o'clock and on was not listed on it. So this evening's activities were not there. Morning, as always, a lot of the fitness classes. So the first item that I took a look at was 3 o'clock. I checked out that VHS Workout, which is videos, headbands, and Simmons. It is an event that has been talked about a lot online. A lot of people enjoy it. I went to the second level of the Manor just to take a quick peek at it and see what it was all about, and it basically matched what all the comments and all the stories have been up to this point. It is a workout class that feels straight out of the 90s, and it tries to bring that vibe right back to it. So it is an entertaining event to participate in, I'm sure, and even just to take a walk through and check out for a couple minutes was enjoyable. After that, at 4:15 to 4:45, the lineup on the mobile app listed Scoop. There it is, once again, just like we saw the other day. And I even got the push notice. That is one of the nice benefits of the mobile app, If you book an event, and events that don't need booking, such as this competition here, can be booked, and what that does is put it on your agenda, make it into an easy place to see what you want to see on that day, all in one location, one list, none of the other events to filter through. But it also triggers push notifications, and it seems like those are unique to each event. Each event seems to have something that's worded slightly different to be relevant to the theme of what the event is that it's notifying you of, and that includes your dinners. And those notices go out about 30 minutes before the event. So today I got that notice for this event, showed up. There were a lot of people in the roundabout waiting for it, but 4:15 came, 4:15 left. Nobody showed up, nobody was even setting up to hold a game show. So I loaded the app, looked through the lineup, and the event was missing. It was no longer scheduled, it was no longer on the day's list of items to go attend, but when I looked at my agenda, it was still there. So it still showed on my agenda as an event to go to, still got the push notice to go to it in 30 minutes, but the event had actually been canceled. So just like we saw with the Royal Caribbean app, it appears there's a bit of a disconnect between events that are on your profile and the actual events, where when they change the actual event, the one on your profile doesn't get changed with it, which is obviously going to cause you a problem. For me today, that took a bit of time out of my schedule as I went out of my way to make sure I got there for the event in advance to watch, but also just the time waiting to see if it would happen. So after waiting for that event, I took some time to walk around the ship, saw some of the setup going on for the Scarlet Night, including a moon up on the net of the athletic club. And then I headed to my dinner, which was, for tonight, Test Kitchen. Very unique experience, a bit like Wonderland, but in my opinion, not quite as thematic and extreme as Wonderland. It had the same beautiful presentation, very unique foods, some of them that taste very different than you'd expect them to. And it was a total of 6 courses. They also had different wine and cocktail and other kinds of pairings that you could do with it along the way if you wanted to. But for us, we just did the 6 courses of the meal and went through it. In total, it was 2 hours and a couple minutes past, so it was the longest of the meals that we've done so far. It certainly was a longer one because you had to wait for the dishes to come out. It was a group-style eating scenario, so you don't have your own table. So it appeared today, at least, they were grouping in about 6 people. So it wasn't the largest group, but it was still with other people. We were seated in a very long table that actually had 3 different sections of 6 people so that they could go at different paces, but at the end we all ended at the same time. So I don't know if they were intentionally trying to get the groups lined up or it just kind of naturally happened, but in total it was about 2 hours, so you definitely want to account for that. I don't think it'll be much quicker than that, just because it takes time to bring all 6 courses out, and it does take a couple minutes to explain each one because they do come over and explain every individual course of the meal and what the ingredients are, how it's prepared, what it's supposed to be like. And one of the odd things was in advance they had a regular menu and they had a vegetarian lineup. Today there was no question of that, and when I scanned the little QR code for it, I actually found that the menu listed in the restaurant no longer had the vegetarian option. It was one option only. And I'm guessing that's why they never asked us which option we wanted, but it is a very curious thing that they got rid of the vegetarian one. I don't know if it's still available as a specialty order thing or if it's just off the menu entirely at this point. So that was 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. We then had about an hour to kill. We went over to the shops. Today was day 4. It is a 5-night cruise, so we do have tomorrow still, but the shops do close tonight. Tomorrow we are in Bimini from early in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. The shops are not opening after that. So if you have any credit, we have the $200 credit for this sailing and next sailing based on the deals that were being offered at the time we booked. And that meant that we had to spend all of that $200 basically by tonight. We could use a little bit for drinks tomorrow if we want, but at this point we had the full $200. If we did not spend it today, it was very unlikely we'd get through it tomorrow. So it's important to know that, because if you are waiting to the end is actually the last sea day. The very last day, Bimini, think of that as your departure. Do not think of it as the cruise, because at that point, it's too late to do some of the things like shopping that are available on board the ship. Then 9 o'clock was the start of Scarlet Night. It was listed back before we boarded as 9 o'clock till midnight. Once we got on board, it changed and it became 9 o'clock to 10:30, and then it was Scarlet Night pool party from 10:30 until midnight up on the Aquatic Club, while the actual Scarlet Night event was listed as ship-wide. And at some point that changed. Today I noticed that it was slightly different. It still had those two events, but it had a third event listed in there for 9 o'clock to 10:30, so the same time as the Scarlet Night. And it was karaoke under the moon. And I'm thinking that's why they were tying a big moon to the net. Fortunately, with that rain, they canceled everything outside, and while at the time it seemed like the rain had stopped, it isn't really wet out here at the moment. It's certainly not raining right now. We have beautiful clear skies. You can see all the stars out there. But they did cancel every outdoor activity, and that meant, just like the other one, the push notices, the agenda, all my stuff was wrong, but the lineup was correct in the app. And in there they got rid of not just the Scarlet Night pool party, but also the karaoke, which was an odd one. So you'd think they could just move it to an indoor venue. And the same with Scarlet Night pool party. You'd assume they could move it to the Red Room or somewhere else to still hold an event. But the only addition that I saw was that they did put a DJ into the dock house for a period of time tonight, and they also put a band down in the roundabout on deck number 6 over at the On the Rocks bar. So those two items were added in place of the party and the karaoke, and it really kind of threw the vibe of the night off. I think it threw off the expectations of the event as well. The actual Scarlet Night event took place from 9 to 10:30. It was listed ship-wide. It likely would have involved more of the ship, the outdoor areas, definitely the athletic club, and most likely the pool area as well. But instead it was pretty much an all-on-deck number 7 event, taking place in the dock house all the way through the Red Room in the front of the ship. So from front to back there were activities going on, and the heart of it really was in the roundabout. That was kind of the center of all the activity. And this was one of the few times there were ship-wide announcements, because they played announcements throughout the ship to really run the entire event. They had an announcement to start and kick off the event and get everything going, get everybody moving and understand what was going on. And it began with all the different activity team members pretty much going in all different directions and bringing people with them. There was activity all over the ship. Periodically you'd hear a whistle blow, and that seemed to be a trigger to the crew to kind of transition and change. It was a bit of a confusing event. I think a lot of people were a little disappointed and underwhelmed by it. There was heavy theming to it, a lot of lighting, a lot of decorations that were put up, a lot of different elements done to the ship to bring out that special Scarlet Night feel, including all of the cabin lights are on tonight. You can see them down the side of the ship when you're outside, that all the lighting is on, the funnel is lit up. Anything that can be turned red is turned red for the night, just to get that Scarlet Night out there. And as you moved around the ship, there were different activities going on.
Oh yeah!
There were the folktale singers. There were dancers, some performers, some acrobat stuff. There were even some storytellers.
With his lantern, encountered the goddess of the ocean.
A lot of it was a bit repetitive. It seemed like at 3 different stages we hit similar items that were just telling the story of what Scarlet Night is in different ways, but they were really kind of overlapping and felt a bit redundant. And there were multiple times where somebody came through with a megaphone saying to follow them to go to some event, and we'd follow them and there'd be a whole crowd following, and the whole crowd followed and kept following and kept going, and then suddenly you realized you were at the end of the ship and there was nowhere else, and there was no event and there was nothing going on. And that happened on 2 separate occasions before we stopped following anyone and just kind of went on our own. but it seemed like from what they said, it was encouraged to move around, to see everything, to explore it all and get a feel for what was going on. But in the end, it seemed like sitting in one spot would have been the better route to take. The actual activities, the different people that were doing the entertaining were moving around the ship, moving all around deck number 7, and it seemed like every time that whistle blew, they would shift from one zone to another. So staying in one spot would have likely ensured you saw every one of those groups go through, rather than moving around and catching bits and pieces here and there. They also took over the Red Room and made it almost like a meditation space, with the voice of Scarlet talking over the sounds of the ocean and mood lighting in there, along with a bunch of cool blow-up items such as rafts and giant clamshells to relax in. So it just gave a bit of a zen space in contrast to all the excitement and energy going on throughout the rest of the deck.
Each limb is covered in tiny.
They did not use the Manor though, which was a bit odd. It was right in the center of everything. It seemed like a perfect place to use something. They didn't have a plan B for the rain, which is really weird. They had the karaoke, which was supposed to be on the top deck. The Manor seems like it would have been the perfect place to move a karaoke event. It was still in the middle of where all the events of Scarlet Night were going on. It would have been a great venue to have karaoke, since that was originally supposed to occur, but instead of moving it, they just outright canceled it. And then at the end of Scarlet Night, it ended in the roundabout with a bit of a performance where a fake Scarlet Night wedding took place, and throughout the night they were kind of hyping and trying to build this excitement around a wedding. And when the time finally came, it was a bit of a joke. I don't think it got the energy it was expecting. I think a lot of the problem of tonight was a build-up that could not be followed through on. Some of it was just not as good as what I think they were expecting it to be perceived as. The wedding, while humorous, was not all that exciting or interesting. It was not the wow moment that it was being built up to for the previous hour and a half that led up to it. And then not having an actual Scarlet Night pool party or a replacement of any kind for it, which you'd think they should have been prepared for the possibility of rain, been able to do some kind of plan B with the Red Room, move those seats out of there, have that big open space, and just do some kind of event in there as a replacement for it. But instead it just kind of dropped off. So when Scarlet Night came to an end, it never really felt like it started. It felt like we were getting the pre-party, the pre-show, we were getting in the mood, we were learning what Scarlet Night was and how Scarlet Night came to be, what the excitement was, why we should care about this, and then everything just dropped. There was nothing else beyond that. The effort was to tell people to go to the Manor where the DJ was playing, and it was a club, but the club is the same club that's every single night. There was nothing special for Scarlet Night. There was nothing extra for it. It was just a standard nightly club that goes on in the Manor each evening, and that kind of left it feeling flat. It really wasn't the big event that was built up for so many months, and all over the social media, everywhere that Virgin is marketed, was really all about the Scarlet Night, and it just was not the event that they built it to be. It was an event, it was a spectacle to see, but not to the level that they tried to promote it. Odyssey, in my opinion, was actually a far more interesting and exciting event than what Scarlet Night was. Scarlet Night just was not exciting enough, and part of it was probably the rain affected it, and that plan B likely should have been in place to ensure it could still succeed. But even without the party, just what was there wasn't really enough to sustain it, and if anything, they probably should have considered canceling it or moving it to tomorrow if they really couldn't pull something off with some rain out there. And the worst part is it really wasn't raining. They were setting things up. The moon was up on the net, and it's gone now, so I'm not sure when they removed that, but it seemed like it wasn't actually raining during the event, and they didn't know it was going to rain despite being able to see it clearly on the horizon, because they were still setting stuff up outside. So it was almost like they didn't even truly understand what the weather situation was around us, which is both ironic and sad, because that's one of the big issues with this sailing has been the fact that we don't know what the weather is. We don't know whether it's going to be nice in the afternoon and we should plan to go out, or it's going to get worse and you should go outside in the morning. We don't know what the weather's going to be, and it doesn't appear they did either from what we saw going on today. So that was the first Scarlet Night. We do have another sailing, which is really good because I don't think it got a fair shakedown with that rain. I can't say it's not their fault because I feel like a plan B should have been there, so I don't want to say they didn't drop the ball on it, because I think they definitely did. But I don't think Scarlet Night truly was what it was supposed to be tonight. So I'm hoping next week we'll have good weather and we can finally see what Scarlet Night is actually all about, what the true format is about, what it fully encompasses when they can do all the activities that they intend to do and do the full party that is supposed to be the biggest event of the entire sailing next week. That was kind of the end of the night. It was supposed to be the big wow in the end, but it just kind of fizzled out as people went to different areas of music throughout the ship, and some of them were a little bit odd. The dock house was a DJ playing almost like they were in a library. It was just a very awkward environment there. The band playing down in the roundabout was just tons of crew and their family, not many guests. And then you had the nightclub that was going on. That was just the standard nightclub at night. So it just kind of fizzled out into an awkward evening this night, and not the normal energy that you'd hope or expect from one of these signature event nights. And for the daily dine today, we're going to take a look at the place that I dined tonight, the Test Kitchen. If you're looking for a different kind of dining experience, you'll find it on the port side of deck number 6. The Test Kitchen is unlike any other dining venue on board, and it's far more than just a dining venue. With a lab-like design, the venue is designed around the idea of experimentation. This is key to its use during the day to offer cooking and mixology classes that sailors can book through the app. For dinner service, the venue features counter seating where you can watch the food being created, as well as large tables where guests are sat in groups. Waiters in white lab coats lead your dinner as they serve you a multi-course meal featuring a non-traditional menu of ingredients that are used to create unexpected dishes. For those looking to enhance the experience, there are 4 different sets of drink pairings that you can purchase and have served alongside each of the corresponding dishes. With a unique theme, waitstaff, dining format, and even dishes, you're sure to have a memorable experience when you dine at the Test Kitchen. That is going to be a very tricky venue for Virgin in the long run. It is a very unique venue. It is one that you want to try. I think everybody has to try it. You certainly should, because it is a unique venue. It is something that you want to take the pictures of, you want to be able to say you've experienced, and you want to have that memory of. But it's not the kind of food that you go, that was delicious, I want to have that again tomorrow night. It's the kind of food you take that picture and a year later you look back and go, oh yeah, I enjoyed that one. So I don't know how much repeatability they're going to get. I think as you get beyond these first sailings, you're going to see initially this high demand as people want to try that. But when you get more of these repeat cruisers, you're going to see more and more people skipping that venue. If you have to choose 5 of the 6, that'll likely be the one that people drop. So as they start to fill their capacity, I could see there potentially being some issues where people are forced into Test Kitchen as the only dining option remaining on board the ship. So hopefully they have some kind of plan around that. Perhaps they need to think about an alternative, traditional price fixed style menu option that guests can do as an alternative to it, just to give something else for those people that do kind of get stuck in there. Because I'm sure we're going to see a point, and hopefully we do. It's a good thing if we hit the point where the dining is at capacity and people are forced into whatever is remaining, which is eventually likely going to be the Test Kitchen first. And then after dinner, of course, was Scarlet Night, big entertainment throughout the whole ship, involving the Manor as the DJ's location afterwards, the Red Room for that meditation zone, And tonight's venue tour is going to be of the nightlife on board Scarlet Lady. When you think of the Virgin brand, you likely think of the music and party atmosphere. That's where the forward half of decks 6 and 7 on board Scarlet Lady takes center stage. Heading forward from the roundabout on deck 6 takes you into the casino. With its own bar, a collection of slot machines, and a variety of tables, you'll find plenty of ways to occupy your time. The venue's centerpiece is the large video wall that accents the atmosphere of the venue, but can also turn into a place for sporting event viewing. While the entire casino breaks from the norm and is smoke-free, adjacent to it is the smoking room. This venue has an advanced air system and is the only indoor venue on board that allows smoking. It features a side room for table games as well as several slot machines for those looking to smoke while gambling. The main area of the casino leads to the Manor with a mind-dizzying entranceway filled with mirrors and lights to create the most Instagrammable spot on board. Inside, you'll transport back in time to a Studio 54 stylized nightclub. The venue features its own bar, a back room, many private corners for gathering, and of course, a large transformative area that can switch between a large stage or a tiny spot, depending on the needs, and flexible seating that can be removed or arranged however the circumstances need. The second level allows more sailors to enjoy the show, while a second bar in the upper level ensures they still have the same level of service. With elaborate lighting systems, lasers, and even fog machines, the venue can become the ultimate nightclub when the time is right. The forward port side of the deck includes an easily overlooked area known as the Den. This room acts as the ship's conference center, allowing for groups to hold meetings on board with a space that can change sizes depending on the needs, and its own food and restroom facilities. As is common on most cruise ships, the very front is occupied by the main theater. On Scarlet Lady, this venue looks anything but common though. Designed as an event space, the venue is a large open floor with a stage at the forward side and collapsible seating against the aft wall, allowing it to host parties as well as the unique Untitled Dance Show party thing. With the seating open, it can be used as a traditional theater that extends the lowest level to connect with the second level seating. With them half open, it creates a center stage area with seating that can open up on the stage to create an arena-like venue, with the performance in the middle of the audience for shows like Dual Reality. With so many options for how the venue is laid out, moving stages and video screens, and tons of lighting technology, the possibilities for the Red Room are endless. On Deck 7, across from the port side entrance to the Red Room, is the Groupie. This karaoke venue changes from the traditional cruise karaoke and puts it into 4 private rooms of varying sizes. Sailors can sign up to reserve a room and have their own karaoke sessions with their friends. On the starboard side, connecting the Red Room to the roundabout, is the Sip Lounge. This venue features a more vibrant and upscale feel than many of the other areas of the ship, with a champagne bar, large windows, and plenty of seating to socialize. It also has access to the second level of the Manor, making it the perfect gathering place between activities during the day or night. So those are some unique spaces. They really are transformative. That was something that Virgin set up front. They were really trying to do, make a space multi-use, multi-purpose, and they've taken those to another level because we see it not just multi-use, multi-purpose, but during the actual events they hold in these venues, they're transforming, they're changing, they're doing things, they're manipulating the venues in the middle of them being used, which is something that you usually don't see. You usually don't see that happening outside of the gap between events to get it set up. So they're really pushing what is possible with these venues and the physical structure of these rooms on board. Then tomorrow, of course, as I mentioned, is our Bimini Day, the big Virgin Resort day of the cruise, the beach day. Every single Scarlet Lady sailing, every sailing out of Miami, including when Valiant Lady arrives, will be going to Bimini every single sailing. That is a standard part of the Virgin Voyages package. Every itinerary includes a stop in Bimini. And tonight, after our dinner and test kitchen, we had something we haven't had all sailing. We had a bit of information conveyed. There was almost a traditional deja vu kind of feeling to it, where when the dinner service was done, the waiter who had presented all of our different courses and explained everything came over and explained everything about how Bimini is going to work tomorrow. Getting off the ship, getting to the resort, the way that the service to get back and forth is going to be with the carts running about every 5 minutes, but also the fact that food will be served on board. The food comes from the ship and it will be served from 11:30 to 5 p.m. So all the things we usually hear, especially almost word for word what we would hear the night before a Coco Cay or a Labadee stop, we heard tonight after the dinner service about tomorrow. And that is something we have not had all voyage. We haven't had a waiter give us any of that information. We certainly didn't have a cruise director on board, so nobody was giving that information at shows. So that was kind of the first time all sailing we've actually had somebody take the time to explain information that we really needed to know about. That was important to know to understand how to be successful tomorrow and get the most out of our day in Bimini. So that does it for today. Once again, I'm Derek Picone. Thanks for watching. Come back tomorrow. You're going to want to hear everything about Bimini and stay tuned for those links.